You figured out you married crazy. But what was the last straw that made you say, fuck it? Ask Reddit. Dark Chocolate Mocha. She contacted an ex-girlfriend who we found out had breast cancer. They met for lunch and started hanging out without me knowing it. Then she tells me that her and the ex-girlfriend had worked something out where I would get back with the ex so she could be happy, and then after she passes away, we would get back together again. There was a bunch of weird stuff before that, but this one took the cake. Sahi stretch. 11,925. Money would disappear from time to time. Like as soon as I had saved enough for something important. I was very young and couldn't really connect that he would do this to me. To us. When it seemed we were both working so hard toward big goals. The last straw was when another $2,000 stash disappeared and I wouldn't let it go. I demanded he tell me where it went and he said, if I don't want you to know something you will never know. Scrap soup. 7,469. After hiding in the karaoke bar bathroom for 30 minutes, she came to me in tears. Because the guy she had been trying to cheat on me with turned her down. She was expecting sympathy. XA0 edit. **** Wow. Since this blew up, here is how the rest of the night went. I told her what she did was unforgivable. Said goodbye to my friends and called us an Uber home. She cried the entire way while I shared apologetic looks with the driver. Once home, I told her to sleep on the couch and that we would talk in the morning. She was still upset and told me she was going to take an Ambien to sleep. I told her to do whatever she wanted and closed the door to the bedroom. I was laying there for about 30 minutes processing how awful this was. And how I had to get out of this marriage. When I sat bolt upright, she had been drinking a lot that night. And then she took a sedative. I ran out to the living room and tried to shake her awake. No response. She was still breathing, but I couldn't wake her. So I called 911. About 5 or 6 minutes later there are 5 firefighters and 2 police in my living room, taking her vitals and loading her onto a stretcher for a trip to the ER. A firefighter looks me in the eyes and says he sees people die this way all the time. The police question me and examine me to see if there are signs of a struggle. Checking my fingernails, looking for scratches on my forearms, neck, face, etc. It sucked, but the cop was actually a really nice guy and was just doing his job. Turns out the Ambien prescription was super old and from her ex-boyfriend. Awesome stuff to learn at 3 a.m. They take her to the ER for treatment. I follow the ambulance. Since even though I hate what she did to me, I don't want her to die. At this point I am still processing the night, but also the past 4 years of marriage, and how the abuse from her built to this point. The best I can describe it as is surfacing from deep underwater. I find out she is stable and recovering. It's 5 a.m. So I go home and play with my cats and watch the sunrise. Edit 2. ****. Thanks for the trip down memory lane. Reddit. I had honestly kinda blocked out how that night ended. I think I can look back on it okay now. It was a genuinely shitty night, but also the start of the rest of my life. AWT Curtis. 11,860. Ooh, this is question for me. My ex-husband was a bad man and definitely crazy. Could say so much here. But the final straw is the question asked. So, from shortly after we met, he told me he had a deceased son, and that not many people knew as he didn't like to share it. He said the child passed away age 4, and that he had had him on holidays as he wasn't really with the mother anymore. But they had many memories. He told me everything about this kid. His favorite toys. His hobbies. His birthday and death day. His full name including 2 middle names. He had a tattoo for his son. Pictures. Everything you expect really. Without demanding someone to show you cold hard proof. We even drove 9 hectoseconds to visit his grave. But never actually went to the grave. as my ex broke down crying. In fact, when our biochild together was born, we attempted to list him as her sibling on the birth certificate. But we weren't T allowed, as I wasn't T his mother, and there was no half-siblings allowed to be listed. But there was loose threads. Things that didn't T make sense. It was hard to demand proof, and people don't T tend to lie about deceased children, and it's a hell of an accusation. But eventually I did. Too much to explain. But this son never existed. And I spoke to the supposed mother, and she said, "Why does he keep doing this? We don't T have a son, dead or alive." He did eventually admit it, after trying to make a fake profile for his ex, who he claimed was the mother, and tried to message me on there as her to convince me. Didn't T work. That was the last straw. Made my escape with my daughter a week later. Needed some planning. Never seen him again, thank God. Got full custody. Tatsand. 1066. She smothered a quail to death on our back porch while I was at work and told me about it in excruciating detail when I got home. She was in vet school and described how she put her stethoscope on the bird's chest and listened to its heartbeat stop as she held its beak closed and covered the air holes. We weren't married, luckily, but damn, she was nuts. We never had a real conversation after that. I just moved out as soon as I could. She's a veterinarian now, and that really disturbs me. Undercut Rapunzel. 6954. This thankfully happened 6 weeks before we got married. But the following happened. 1. Spent a year both agreeing to a prenup, only for her to decide to not want to do it after finding out I was going to inherit some money from a recently deceased relative. 2. Gave me a 3-page list of demands, including things such as her mom and brother living with us while seeing any of my family members more than once a month was spending too much time with them. Goreshade. 2943. I was putting our kids to bed and she came home and told me that she was pregnant and I was not the father. Surfdad 67. 1005. My aunt married crazy dude, turned into a conspiracy theorist and prepper. But the final straw was him getting arsenic tablets to give the kids, in case society falls, and we re-surrounded. XA0. Hero to the Squatch. 3479. What's a fact that sounds like a conspiracy theory but is actually true? Quote. Ask Reddit. SpeedyQuick_007. Back in the 80s, in an effort to crack down on homosexuals within their ranks, the U.S. Navy spent millions of dollars to investigate a woman known only as Dorothy. Because undercover agents discovered that many suspected gay men all referenced this name, so they believed she might have been a madam who organized gay meetings. And finding her could help them ID lots of gay men. After several years and millions of dollars of investigation, they determined that questions like, "Are you friends with Dorothy?" was a means of gay men identifying to each other without outing themselves in public. Dorothy never existed. Agent _Uno. 8773. It can rain red in places with high iron density. The water is actually drinkable and won't poison you. Terrarian failure. 3037. The CIA attempted to use cats to spy on members of the Soviet Union. The cat was put through an hour-long surgery to put a radio transmitter in the cat's ear canal. This was known as Operation Acoustic Kitty. The plan did not work. The cat got run over by a car. Snoot Chipmunks 126. 6401. In 1994, the United States Air Force attempted to make a non-lethal weapon that was supposed to turn gay. It was formally called the gay bomb, and their idea was that the bomb would contain human sexual pheromone which would release whenever the bomb would be dropped. Whoever would smell, be affected by the pheromones would theoretically turn gay, and the USAF hoped that once the men turned gay they would be too infatuated by each other to fight letting America Win future wars. Obviously this was never made, but only because they couldn't get it to work. It did win a satirical Nobel Peace Prize. Little Mar won 2,588. The FBI spied on MLK Jr., gathered evidence of an affair he was having, blackmailed the shit out of him and tried to get him to kill himself. Trademarked lobster. 5,885. The Soviets spent millions of dollars to put several agents into the Pentagon to find out what was going on at the busy meeting place in its center. It was a hot dog stand. I am the Mosin. 669. The United States government paid the CIA to send agents into random bars and spike people's food and drinks with LSD, mescaline, liquid THC, and other drugs, and then take notes on what happened. They also paid a guy to sit on a toilet, drinking martinis while watching people have sex with prostitutes on the other side of a one-way mirror. They called it Operation Midnight Climax, because the agents were all high on their own supply when they came up with the name. Crispy Sock. 3,313. The United States has passed a bill which allows for the invasion of the Netherlands in the event of a prosecution by The Hague of a U.S. service member. 2,996. Who wasn't a good actor but played in so many movies? Ask Reddit. Flint the Dad. Steven Seagal. Evict You. 7,028. Troy McClure. Fjortisar. 1893. Dwayne Johnson. Seriously. All his roles are interchangeable. The only character he can play is himself. Compare that to other actors who you can forget are the same guy until you check their filmography. On IMDb. Heroic Forger. 5,829. Dakota Johnson is truly forgettable in every single role she's in, yet keeps getting roles and even leading roles. Don't get it and never have. Edith Wharton's Farts. 2049. Jennifer fucking Lopez. Shafter Boy. 5,383. Wilhelm. His scream is the only thing he is known for, and he has done so in literally thousands of movies as a cameo. Rambo Bambi Bambo. 1941. Lately it feels like all of them. Get off my lawn. Radiant_Maze 2315, 2362. The Rock. Dwayne Johnson. Can't act. Plays himself in every movie, yet is in a ton of movies. Kamikaze 2020. 378. What would you have 100% died from if not for modern medicine? Ask Reddit. Random GIF bot. These asthma attacks are crazy. Kevin Mwangi. 2618. Extra intestines. I had a dead end street in my intestines. Food would get stuck in the extra part, and it was swollen to the size of my forearm. I had extensive tests done with no answer, and they finally decided to just cut me open and look. Took about 7 inches of extra intestines. That was 15 years ago. And this month I have to go back to have more removed. Wish me luck. Arctic Valley. 2,849. Sepsis. Still. 16-day coma. 3 mini strokes. Paralyzed leg and a really awesome beard later. King Brave 1. 540. Being born. I was born too early, and modern medicine kept me from being born even earlier. Sheesh 284. 1994. 90. Childbirth. Wonder_woman_ 1965, 1499. Pneumonia. Tuberculosis. Ruptured appendix. Flu. Stabbing. Compound femur fracture. Alerka Yuni Bay. 1079. Cancer. Meat_the_meat. 283. Asthma would have killed me before I hit double digits. Appendicitis would have killed me before I hit 20. Weekly win 91. 827.